All right, good evening. Episode 95. Hard to believe. I don't believe it. I still don't believe it. Episode 95 of live drawing. I had some folks ask me to wait a little bit to do the Undersea Hero update, so we'll do it kind of on the fly in a little while. This is page 21 of Undersea Hero, the successful Kickstarter campaign that I'm working feverishly to complete the book. And tonight we're just gonna work here. This is our preliminary drawing right here. It's got our primary dialogue note layouts. It's got Undersea Hero looking up, and you can see the ship, the Coralator ship in his sights. And then the next panel is the Coralator inside the vessel yelling through his little microphone because we have him saying, "I knew it." And then it looks like the ship is talking, and then it's revealed that obviously it's the Coralator talking. And then you read it, top to bottom, left to right. Here, 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 picture, here, 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 picture, here, 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 here. And then this is a silhouette of Liquid Lad and Undersea Hero on some rocks with like a very strong light source coming from that little umbilical at the end of the anglerfish lantern. But I decided I want to work on this panel right here, so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm just working on basic shapes, picturing, overall what it's going to look like, and I'm just kind of piecing it together. And with my blue pencil here, I let myself make mistakes because it's not permanent. It's just getting us going in the right direction. And he's proclaiming something with, heroic ferocity. So I don't know, I might need to straighten this finger out a little bit more. It's got to be very strict looking. And also just thinking about how the pieces overlap with one another. That's, there's some foreshortening, but it's not a ton. We have our rule of thirds, which we have quartered off on this panel by itself. You can see the tic-tac-toe board right here. And then these are obviously your action points, and then your 3 quadrants. And in this case, we have a nice big yelling of Coralator. Or really just yelling the bad guy's name in the classic comic book sense, cliche. I've had a bunch of people ask me about Free Comic Book Day. I'm actually not setting up at a store this year. This will be the first year where I can just walk in and pick up some comics and buy a few things, support the store. Who knows, if there's an artist there, maybe I'll buy a sketch. And I've worked Free Comic Book Days for years because obviously I drew the Free Comic Book Day tick issues, and that was, on days where those came out. They usually had me in more than one store. That was usually the deal. Sometimes it's a shot like this that's doesn't seem all that difficult, but it can be tricky just because of the overlapping elements, the foreshortening, and just the ludicrous exaggerations involved in drawing Undersea Hero. It's like, how can he even see over his shoulder? Sometimes he can't. Hey, Brian, hello. Is everybody drawing? Are we all drawing tonight? Since we got a few people in the room, I'll share the previous page that I'd finished, and I'll show you some cool stuff. This is the page I posted the other day. This is the first appearance of Liquid Lad, obviously a very important figure in the Undersea Hero universe. Um, I would describe him as being a goody two shoes, but like kind of annoying about it. And people get kind of mad that he's like as square as he is, and he's kind of okay with that. And I would say that he tries to use that to his advantage in an annoying way. Um, but yeah, he's coming down here, and he says there's a speech bubble balloon here. There's one here, and it says, "Look, it's Liquid Lad." Trying to play off of those comic book um, interplays between words and pictures. And he's basically like, "You weren't standing here all day, were you? I sent you a memo saying when we were supposed to meet here. We knew exactly when we were supposed to be here." And then they're talking for a little bit. And I thought it'd be nice to just have a nice shot of them talking with backlit with just some more fish, swimming around, showing the world that they're in. And then you start to see the shadow come, and then he's hearing there's a sound effect that actually comes along here, and then goes behind his head, and it's the sound of the vessel coming. This is the rejected pencil page, and you can see some of the differences, like differences in facial expressions. I wanted Undersea Hero to look a little bit annoyed instead of just like feeling bad. Same thing with Liquid Lad. I wanted him to be a little bit more antagonistic in his facial expression rather than as passive. And then I also changed, some other things. Like I thought this was too confused. Like Undersea Hero looked like he didn't know what he was doing, so I wanted him to be a little bit more stable. And then Liquid Lad, I wanted him to be breaking the panels, both panels, because and again, this is me just trying to think of ways to imbue a character or imbibe them with, some different things that I want the reader to pick up on. Hey, Chad. And in this case, I want this to annoy you. Like, and it's gonna annoy artists because like this double break, even though I'm gonna have balloons carrying you through for directing the eye, this is just so annoying. And I want you to be annoyed at Liquid Lad. I want that annoyance to go from not just Liquid Lad, even at me a little bit as the creator. I want you to look at this and be like, why would he do that? Believe me, I try to think of little ways to, through the form itself and playing with the form, uh, affect the way the reader feels. And a lot of my readers are creators or are really adept comic book readers with a lot of experience. And they're going to look at that and go, why is that arm in the first panel? It's blocking me from getting down to here where Undersea Hero is. And it's just going to annoy them. So I want that feeling of annoyance on this page. Like as you finish this page, I want it to carry through this whole page. I don't know if it's going to work, but I wanted to see if I could take something that looks like a basic mistake and put it there intentionally and finish it. It's a finished drawing. Like the breaks are actually, if you cropped it, the crop actually isn't too terrible. But leaving it there, I'm hoping that by putting something like that, it changes the tenor of the reading of that page. Yes, exactly. Perfect. And then there's going to be times later on where the panels are, I'm not going to say that they're perfect, but they are very consistently symmetrical and individually proportioned in such a way to be almost lull you to sleep, like a repetitive form that just I want to see if I can create that sense as you're reading, like where the reading itself is affecting the perception of the story. That's the thing that I love. I love panel dynamics. It's like it's yeah. Here's the finished Space Raven from last week's stream that we did. I got a little carried away with some of the spatter, but I think it's okay just because of the style that I chose to finish it in. I don't. It's not as simple of a form, you know. I actually went in and added some texture here and there, so I think that it if it doesn't work, I don't think it detracts. So that was from last week. Um, I'm still reading these DC mystery comics I picked up at that convention and really enjoying them. Some beautiful artwork. Redondo Studios. And my pal Craig Rousseau stopped by and delivered the original artwork for the Undersea Hero cover by Rich Woodall. So you can see close up how he printed out a blue line and then he actually changed some of the different drawing, a little bit of the technique with the inking. His version of Crackus there. And then we've got his Undersea Hero. Nice exaggerated chin. That was good work. Good work. And then I also got the volume one of the Just For Me concert posters by Craig Rousseau. And it's beautifully printed. It's from his Kickstarter. And he did these wonderful posters for all these conventions he went to. And I can't wait to read these because this is actually like the set list. And then it also has like, you know, reviews of the shows. So it's just a beautiful publication that Craig put together. And I'm really, really looking forward to reading it. All right. And I can't say who it is yet, but just got a piece of artwork in my inbox from another Tick alum that I've been working on, and he is also doing an Undersea Hero piece, so I'm really excited about it. I don't want to give it away yet because I'm not quite sure where we're going to be releasing it, but just knowing that it will be out there and more Tick artists are going to be contributing to the Undersea Hero universe. I really do. I love thinking about the way in which the panels are read coincides with the characters in the story and on how those functions affect one another. Obviously, people read comics differently, but um, I try to stick to some of the basics, like top to bottom, left to right, you know, for American comics and English speaking, non manga, I mean. Speaking of fantastic Japanese artwork, I just watched the mini series of Shogun, the remake of the Shogun show. I thought that was really really good. Hey Dennis, happy birthday! Good to see you. Yes, absolutely. the next page. If you want to see the previous page or some of the stuff that we got going on, you can just rewind a little bit or check it out at a later time. But I'm sure you got birthday stuff going on, so thanks for popping in. Hey, Brian. Yeah, I mean it's one of the artists that I told you in the past I was trying to get, but he's definitely one of the tougher ones. So oh, I'm doing okay. Today was a long day today. It started early. I had to get out the door before by like 6:30. I wouldn't say before 6:30. I got out the door at like 6:30 on the nose. Um, and it was a long day, but we're here. We're here on episode 95 of Live Draw. I've got a nice cup of tea. Hey, no problem. Thanks, man. Enjoy your birthday festivities. I will not sing happy birthday. I will spare everyone the horror of my singing voice. Whenever I'm working on the blue pencil, I'm not afraid to just kind of wing it. Make some mistakes, fix them on the fly. Sometimes I use the part of the paper like this just to try to get my anatomy a little closer to where it needs to be. And we've got like a little liquid lad over here where he's kind of nervous, which is kind of a constant state for liquid lad. And here you can see on my rough, I must have been running out of time that evening. Usually I um, do a more finished drawing. You saw the rough I posted today, but in this case, I must have just been trying to get through the end. I would actually have probably, his hands up and open, like he's almost afraid, like he's going to get hit with something. He's like looking around. I drew this panel the other day. It needs some revising, but it gets really the energy of the madness and the yelling of the Coralator into his little seashell microphone. And see, that would be one of the things that if there was ever any sort of translation of this in another medium, sometimes it's just, and there's a frowny face on it. Yeah. Yep. Ugh. Just wanted to get my chair so that I could focus down in on this panel. I had a nice salad for dinner with some garlic bread. It's one of the regular meals around here. Just pan seared some little chicken to put on it. Lots of people in tonight. Welcome aboard, everybody. This is episode 95. This is page 21 of Undersea Hero. And I'm just going to keep working on it. So there's going to be plenty more streams of me working on different pages of Undersea Hero. So, anybody that backed that Kickstarter, you're going to see, pretty much the whole drawing process. And then I'm hoping at the end to do like one big supercut of like all the videos, do a time lapse of like all the videos of working on Undersea Hero and like intersplice different pages as they get finished. I'm hoping that can be a cool, like, hey, we did it kind of moment that we can share. And right about there is where the middle of the arm would be. That's where the shoulder is. That's what the LL stands for, yes, Liquid Lad. Yep. That's my little self-portrait gargoyle character. Yeah, a lot of folks in the stream tonight. Liquid Lead has like little short sleeve t-shirty type, If you remember, that's what Robin had. He had little short sleeves. Right about there is where that is. And then we have the start of the lines, but I need to be able to see it better. So that's when I switch leads. You can see that there's an HB lead and a blue line, and I pretty much use the HB lead to take a first crack at making some of those drawing decisions that I didn't make with the blue lines. And, instead of going straight into inks, which some people do, especially if they work digitally. I actually did some drawing for the steamship today. Can't say what it was, but hopefully it'll get approval and I'll post it on my page. It was a drawing of one of the terminals, actually. I think I could say that without getting into any trouble. Well, and you can see where I start to make these decisions, and I'm looking at it, and our light source is actually going to be up ahead. So, like, if our light source is up here, coming down this way, there we go. In this case, we do actually have a spotlight that's coming like this. So we will be adding some more shadows to this. But right now, I'm just trying to get the shape. And what I'm going to do when I ink this is I'm going to just outline this, and it's just going to be in the colors. So you're going to see white, and then there will be a little bit of probably like Y2, which is a light yellow screen, maybe Y3, and just probably a little bit of C2, like in this section here where there's kind of like a cast shadow element. So you're trying to have enough overlap right here for foreshortening. It's not a ton of foreshortening, it's just a little bit. It's subtle. Hey, Jonathan, good to see you, man. I'm still working my way through those mystery comics we picked up, like those 70s horror books, 70s and 80s horror books out of the Rubber Chicken bin. Thinking about making a run up to Rubber Chicken for Free Comic Book Day. So let me know if you're interested. Haven't been up there in too long, and I know they'll have all the good books. Ethan, San Dimas High School, Wild Stallions. See, and I had too much meat back there. Beef stroganoff for dinner. Ethan's having beef stroganoff. I had salad and garlic bread. Everybody else have something good? There was the one time that like everyone, including myself in the stream, was having pasta for dinner, which that was pretty funny. Yes, the Energon Universe issue of Free Comic Book Day. I got to try to get the Conan one. Like a friend of mine had to grab it for me at a different store because when I was at NEC, they didn't have one last year. I was like, if NEC's not getting it, what hope is there for us? It's gonna be weird. Everybody's like, how can you not be sitting at a store doing sketches for people on Free Comic Book Day? Well, I tell people pretty frankly, like I got hired by a bunch of my friends to make this comic book, and I got to work on it. That's what all my spare time goes to. I was at Quincy, man. They did not have the Conan book last year. Last year did not have Conan. Our friends. Our friends had to grab me one, and Ethan said the last thing he drew was Cinderella. Do I ever draw any Disney stuff for fun? Well, I mean, Marvel is Disney now, so like that would be. I do draw that kind of stuff every now and again for fun. Like I drew that picture of Gambit a few weeks back, but like traditional Disney stuff, no, I've never really drawn that stuff for fun. I did enjoy plenty of those movies, especially as a kid. Like The Sword and the Stone was a favorite of mine. Archimedes. The owl, I always thought was a wonderful character. Yeah, I don't have Disney Plus. I think I say that every week. I have not seen X-Men 97, so spoilers. Bright light's coming from here. And I have I actually was working at a comic store when the first free comic book day happened. So I got to be there for that. That was pretty cool. Nobody knew it was happening. That was kind of funny. People came in, they were surprised, and they would grab one or two of the comics. I remember there was a Star Wars comic that went pretty quickly. It was back when Dark Horse had the license. Had a picture of the actor that played Anakin Skywalker. Hayden Christensen was on it. Somewhere in there. It must have been, it was before I went off to college, so it was either '02 or '03, somewhere in there. Because I graduated high school in '04. I don't even think we gave away all the comics. I think because so few people knew it was happening, that the comics that the store had, they ended up sitting on by the register for like a week, just giving them out to people. Jonathan says he thinks he bought the Star Wars one for a quarter after the fact. Could be. It was on like a lighter paper. It was newsprint with a self cover. That was one of the reasons it was like an oddity. Of course, they put a price tag straight on the cover. Why wouldn't you do that? I actually bought a comic book from Savers over the weekend. and it had a price tag on the back cover, but I would say it came off pretty easily. So I don't know if they had a different one for putting it on paper items, but the tag came off pretty easily. I'm thinking here that there's going to need to be some dark shadow. Um, and then, of course, like if we were being serious, if the lighting was coming this way, there would be a cast shadow from that arm. I don't know if we can get away with that, but we're just roughing it in. I did. I felt like I got lucky. Ethan, I'm working real hard to have it done by August, but there's a chance it'll be a little late just because of all my work stuff on top of my regular job stuff on top of it is sapping more time than I thought it would. But obviously, I give weekly updates, so everybody is on. Everybody knows what I know. But I've turned down plenty of work. I've turned down conventions, all to just keep focused on this book and getting it done. And this is what I do instead of doing a bunch of conventions. Like I was not at the mini con, the Ninja Turtle con, or any of that stuff. And I'm not going to be at shows this year. I'm going to be at home working on this. Like that's what I'll be doing. Hey, Mike, I'm doing all right. Starting to get a little tired. It's been a long day. Up at 5 whatever to get out the door by 6:30, so it's been a long day. But that's what the original goal was sometime in August. That's what the Kickstarter said. But it will be as close to that as I can muster all on my own. I'm doing okay. After this, I'll move myself over to the couch. I'll probably do some reading and then fall asleep on the couch. I got to make sure I turn my alarm on before I fall asleep. That's the thing. Oh, thank you, Ethan. I try very hard, and if I fail, it's not for lack of trying. And I'm happy to be working on this. I want this book to be the thing I'm most proud of to show off to everyone, and when everybody gets it in their hands, I'm excited for it, and I'm not I'm happy to be doing this. I'd rather be working, on comics. I don't think I was ever all that good at being at conventions, and, I was there, I tried to be present and kind, but I don't know if I was very good at it. But we'll hit some more shows after Undersea Hero is done, because we'll have to hopefully find more than just the people who helped make it happen to enjoy the book. I'm gonna have to tweak this anatomy with some erasing. I might even have to transfer it to a clean board, but we'll see. Brian says he wants to show it off too. Well, I will definitely need your help when we get to that part. We just got to have a book in our hands. I'm having trouble seeing a little bit. As far as when I say that, it's not the physical element of seeing. It's actually see. When I think of it as seeing the shapes and how they fit together. Sometimes it happens when I'm doing drawing on a stream, where I'm just kind of noodling instead of, you know, picturing the shape I need, making a decision, and then executing that shape. Ethan asked, "What were my inspirations for the main hero to make him so big and buff?" Kind of reminds me of Mr. Incredible. Well, it's that archetype, but for me, it was actually, when I created the character and I talk about it in issue 0, I was a big fan of the Tick comics. Like, I was reading the work of Eli Stone and Gabe Crate and Sean Wong and all these guys, and it was he was this big funny guy, and like, it's supposed to be ridiculous looking. Like, I want people to look at it and think that he's funny looking. Um, Same thing with the Correlator, especially the Correlator. Like, I had people ask me, like, "Do you think the Correlator looks cool?" No, I think he looks funny. Um, and that was kind of where I wanted him to be almost like a simplified symbol of a comic book superhero rather than a person. Um, so, and I wanted to be able to say stuff about, different tropes, different aspects of the genre, and I think that those were things that, like, the Venture Brothers and um, Megaton Man and so many other of these types of comics did so well. And because they're independent, as much as I enjoy, the lampooning that they do of, like, like Damage Control or What the or Not Brand Ech, it doesn't have any teeth. Um, I think everyone knows that, the company's in on the joke, and at that point, it doesn't have the power of actual satire. Satire is a powerful tool when, especially working with genre fiction, because so many of the things that we love, if you were to write them down and look at them without context or read them like they're ridiculous. But part of that's what makes it so fun. And when you exaggerate it and you push it even further, that's when I have a lot of fun. So sometimes it's the angle. It's the angle that I'm sitting at, and I'm having troubles just seeing it. It's just frustrating. Hey, Desiree, good to see you. Welcome aboard. Lots of people in tonight. Got like a full crew. I think all the regulars are here. Hey, Isaiah, how are you? Who's the little chef dude on the table? Oh, that's me. That's not a hat. That's my giant head, and that's my hair. I don't know. Have I ever drawn my self-portrait for you guys? I must have by now, but if I haven't, I'll just grab this board here. Yeah, my self-portrait is just that's my hair. So I usually have big hair. Then I do gotta have the big giant hair. There's me. Then we just gotta add the beard. There you go. There's my portrait. If I ever have to draw myself, that's what it looks like. We have a question from Pop One. How recommend to study comic panels? Um, the books I recommend are Graphic Storytelling and Visual Narrative. It's a book by Will Eisner. That's one of my favorites to cite for people. I think it breaks it down into the most simple forms and it's easy to understand. Um, I think that that's probably the book I recommend the most for comic book panels because it breaks it down into the symbology. There's also, if you're looking to get something more advanced, Howard Chaykin teaches a class called The Paradigm, and that's really advanced. And Brian says, I almost thought you were going to write, I like Dinosaur Neil. I like your art style. Thank you. Yeah, if you've seen any of my finished work, it's I showed off the last page of this at the beginning of the stream. See, I'm just not getting the breaks that I want. And one of the things that I talk about as being like the most important thing are those break points, those crossover points. And just knowing where you should have, because like his shoulder, if it comes up like this, his arm is attached here. This part should be down here. Why am I getting messages? People sending me messages. And then this part should come down here like this. See, that's better. See, I wasn't seeing it right. And then let me just make sure it's not someone telling me that my stream is broken. It is not. So sometimes people will tell me if the sound is wonky or something. And I also just recommend looking just at lots of different comics by people who know what they're doing. I use Loomis method for the face. Yeah, I do. I use Loomis method for a lot of things. I've kind of varied it into a version of the Loomis method that I call the tubes and cubes method. Um, it simplifies some of the elements of the Loomis method and it also kind of caters it to the direction I want the characters to have. Yeah, I'm just not happy with this arm. It's not working for me. Sometimes that happens. Let's go back to basics. Back to the shapes. Let's get our big shoulder shape here. That's where the elbow should be. I think it's the hand. I think the hand shorted it. I think that's. I was trying to force that hand to work. Here's the square for that front of that hand. Just rough that in. What comic book board paper should I order on Amazon? I don't order specifically comic book board paper, and I actually don't even order it from Amazon anymore. I just go to Ocean State Job Lot, and they have 2-ply Bristol there, and it's in pads of 20 sheets for just over $10. So that's what I use. That's what this is. This is just your standard Strathmore. Some people use fancier paper. I don't. I find that for pen and ink drawing, I don't need it. For watercolors, I will sometimes up the paper budget a little bit, but sometimes I don't. Because I've really learned how to use my tools over the years in different ways for different mediums and different papers. But like the mixed media paper is actually my favorite of the Strathmore papers. Yes, I do watercolor. I don't know if I have any right here. I do. Hold on. Here's actually one of the Undersea Hero watercolors that I did. You can see some of the color layering. So, I use watercolor. I've used oils, um, gouache. It's tough to fit his chin. I think his mouth is too far open. I think that's where we're at. Trying to get the pieces to fit together sometimes is tough. All those exaggerations don't all work together all the time, so there we go. That's a little better. Got to make sure we get the wrist in there. Oh, thank you. It's too stiff. This whole thing was stiff, so we have to try to fix it on the fly. Fix this hair. And I'm just one of the things that was hard for me, and it still is sometimes. It's gotten a little easier as of late. Is just having the faith to keep pressing forward, knowing that like I can fix that. We can fix that. We don't have to break our pencil and give up. We can fix this. I try to post everything that gets finished on Instagram, and then that gets shared to Facebook. I wish I was better at making like videos or whatever on the fly because I guess those get seen by more people, but I just don't have the time to do editing. Let's pull this back. When you're drawing Undersea Hero at home, the middle of the face is actually underneath the nose for him. It's a little different. Instead of the bridge of the nose, it's actually the bottom underneath the nose. That was a breakthrough as I was working out the design. I was having those benchmarks. This should actually come down a little bit. There we go. It's starting to come together. And, sometimes I have to go back to the blue line and just basically start over. Sometimes I'll make a patch. Sometimes I'll have to draw it on a separate sheet of paper and glue it down on top of it because I like everything else. And then there's like one little bit that I have to replace. So we got a lot of people here tonight. So thank you everybody for hanging out with me this evening. We've consistently been getting more subscribers over on the YouTubes. So not bad for almost 100 episodes. All right, let's see if this looks better. I think we were getting ahead of ourselves on some stuff when we first were passing through on this. Sometimes it just takes getting one thing right. Like if we nail this hand, maybe the other pieces will fit together a little better. How long did it take me to get to where I'm at? I'm 39 years old, so I'm an old person now. At least that's what I'm told. I'm told I'm now an old. Um, and I've been drawing since I was probably three, 3 or 4. So decades of practice, decades of lots of failures and learning and trying to get better and bugging, people that were better than me. I was always bugging, you know, it was funny, like people I used to get made fun of for by my friends at when I was a kid going to comic conventions, because I would be bugging the pretty much the old guard artists, um, the folks that like Dick Ayers was a guy who I bugged a lot when I was a kid. To this day, Mike Vosberg, I find super inspirational. He just cranks out whatever he wants to work on. Like if he wants to do a detective story, he does a detective story. But yeah, and just asking them for help and like, I've been lucky that most of the people that I ever asked to look at my work or has offered to look at my work has been helpful. Is Dick Ayers still alive? No, he's not. He passed away. Um, so it's also Marty Nodell. He was another guy that always was at Mid Ohio Con. And one year when I was a very young man, I was probably maybe the first or second show I ever set up at, and I had no business doing it. I was an interloper for sure, a talentless hack, a dreamer, and um, I was sitting next to Marty Nodell at one show, and yeah, like we would just we hung out the first time at that show, and he gave me some French fries, and we just talked artwork and comics, and I met so many other writers and artists that were so nice with their time and their efforts. Daryl Banks was instrumental in just meeting a real pro who could explain stuff, and I was so lucky he was the first like real pro I met and spent time with because he was also a teacher. So like he knew how to explain it to somebody who didn't have all of the tools to understand what he was talking about when he was, just talking shop. Is Liquid Lad like me? I don't know. I don't know if he was like young me. I hope I hope he's not. I hope I wasn't quite that annoying, but I probably was. So you're probably right. Rich Buckler was another artist who spent a ton of time uh, just corresponding with me through emails, and then we'd see each other at shows. He invested some time in helping me. He did a Helena pinup for me, and he said, and he wrote in his note, "Use this to open doors." Ethan says, "I watched the artist for Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. They were drawing the red lead and blue lead for the 3D effect. Have you tried that yet?" I have. I don't really like using the red lead because I have yet to find a red that erases at all. And they make a red in the Uni brand of pencil lead that I use in the blue. And I tried that, and it was Smudge City for me. I do think that there is a gravity to like when you say when I was a kid, and it's like, oh, I'm going to dedicate my life to learning how to make artwork and draw. There's a gravity to that saying, and it's easier said than done. You know, at kind of every step of my creative journey, I met other people who were had similar um, interests, but very few people had the follow through. And I'm sure even Doug can speak to it. There's you have to have a stubborn streak just to stay at the board for so long. Um, Doug says he uses the Uni red lead. It's fussy to erase if you have heavy hand with it. I have a heavy hand, so like if you see my originals, unless I do the like transfer it to a clean board trick, they're all beat to hell. Like I beat up paper. Like I and then I see like a little thing. If I square that off, it's more dynamic because it maintains the understructure and the skin of the face stretching around it. Uh, didn't want to forget it, so I just made the mark there. One of the things I've really been thinking about lately while drawing is just drawing the lines I'm sure of. And this is hard to do because you have to have faith that the other lines will just like fall into place as you're drawing the what you think are the right lines or what I think are the right lines. Doug, I'm gonna have to spotlight the comment. He says it's a job for psychopaths, staring at a drawing board for 8 hours at a time, moving a pencil, which is one step away from just staring. I hate it. Ethan says he spent money on Google. Now, when people say, "Hey Google, where do I find an artist or painter?" It will bring up your business. In Black Productions. Hope I get more customers soon. Yeah, working on the Google listings. That's a good way to just get you higher up in the search engines or whatever. Pop One says that they were just drawing a gesture and got frustrated because it wasn't dynamic. I know that feeling well. We all run into that. One little exercise I'll do that might help you um, if you're trying to get a dynamic pose is just draw a line that's not perfectly straight like this. Just draw a line and then draw a figure with that as their line of action. That's one that helps me sometimes. Like if I'm trying to, and you can go perpendicular to that line with like your anatomy, like have the leg coming forward and then having the leg in the back. And then this arm coming forward like they're running. This person's running. So we'll bring this foot up like this. So there we go. There's our pose. How do you stop getting frustrated? I don't stop getting frustrated. I just find new ways to try to deal with it and keep on going forward. Find new tricks, new techniques, and just keep studying. I have days where I'm mad as heck doing what I got to do, but I got to finish a page or I've got to do something. But yeah, drawing a simple line in any direction you can do. Go any way, and you can just try to draw a figure using that line. And try not to get too caught up in it being finished, because to me that's a figure. Like there's the head, there's the arms, and it's just got so much flow and movement. Those are ways to just keep on going. Like I'm a little frustrated at this figure here. Like it's just a finger pointing, but I wanted it to be like exaggerated and like almost like a moment in a if you were to stop a cartoon where it's like dun dun dun. And sometimes I just have to finish a sketch. Like I'll stop working on something. Like if I got to work on a page, if I just keep plowing through it, I'll just keep getting more frustrated. So if I stop and do a sketch of something that's just fun and light, that'll get my feet moving, and I'll be able to make my way through it. So But I get frustrated all the time. All the time. Not all the time, but enough. I get frustrated enough to say that it never really goes away for me. Do I like 1700s themed comics? You mean like historical ones? Like, are you doing one about the, you know, early United States? Or just of that time period? Are you doing London in the 1700s? Are you doing period comics are hard. They're really hard because you got to do the research. Pirates. Well, pirates, I feel like there's a fantasy element, so you can get away with fudging some of the stuff. I don't necessarily look at a pirate comic, even the old EC piracy comics, as being any sort of historical, uh, needing historical accuracy to be a good comic. I think that's the best way I can probably put it. There we go. That's a lot better than that first one. If you go back and you see the figure that I erased, this one has a lot more oomph to it. There we go. See, we just fought through that. Sometimes I just gotta fight through it. In this case, I can just simplify this because this will all be blacked out here. Ethan says, drawing on paper is like working out at the gym. It hurts and is annoying to do, but the result is always worth the effort. I don't know if it hurts, but it can be frustrating. Because it just depends how you work, because I don't necessarily draw with a finished image in my head. I just have a feeling that I'm searching for. And one thing I would like to, if I could pass along to other artists, is if you spend a day working, and even if you don't use anything that you worked on that day, give yourself a tiny bit of credit for just keeping your head in it, staying in the fight, you know? And I know it's hard, especially if you have a deadline you're trying to hit or something where you needed to hit a quota that day. But just a little bit of credit for just sticking it out. And I gotta fix this neck. It's driving me nuts. It's gotta come further over here. There we go. As you can see here, this is the midpoint of the chest. And obviously the neck is on equal parts of both sides of that, so it has to extend further. Hey, good to see you, Desiree. I'm gonna be calling it myself, I think. It's 9:30. Day started at 5:30, so that's as far as we got. I wish we got a little further, but That happens. I'll keep shaping it. I'll show these off again. There's my self-portraits. There's that water cup. Here is the phone falling off the table, and then the Rich Woodall original cover art for Undersea Hero, the Great Barrier Reef. There's last week's Space Raven that we did. And then there's the last week's page 20. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming out, and I hope everybody has a good rest of their week and a good weekend coming up. And I hope to see you next week, Wednesday, for episode 96, closing in on 100. Can't believe it. So have a good night, everybody.